Hi everybody, I'm back and I only got one of my fabric lace books finished. I wanted to get them both finished and have them posted before I left to go do my babysitting duties, but I didn't get it done. So I only finished one of them, so the other one will have to wait till I get back. And I just have a little bit of work left to do on it. So, but you know us crafters, we want it to all be perfect before we show it to everybody, or at least as much as close to perfect as we can get it. So this book that I'm going to show you today, it doesn't really have a theme. It's just beautiful vintage ladies that I found pictures of, and they're all profile type pictures. So let's get started. So on the cover here, I've got a beautiful lady here holding a bouquet of flowers, and I framed the picture with some chiffon fabric that I just kind of gathered in different places all around it to give it that kind of a puffy looking effect there. And then on the edge of the fabric, I've got this pretty little rose trim. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it goes all the way around the edge. And then across the top corner, I have just a pretty little applique piece with sequins and pearls, and then a handmade flower and a few little leaves that are hanging in the corner there. And so that's it for decorating around the picture. I do have a little bit of tulle across the top and a little bit off to the side over here. Now for the bottom part of the cover, I have this beautiful applique piece. Isn't that gorgeous? I got that from Donna Little. Hi, Donna. And I have been holding on to it for a while because I wanted to put it on something where I wouldn't have to cover it up so much. So I think I did okay with this book because you're seeing pretty much all of it. It stops like right there and just runs right under the ruffle there. And so I just wanted to keep it all uncovered as much as I possibly could. And then underneath it, I've got a Battenberg doily and then some pretty lace under there. And then I'm going to bring it up close, and you can see there are like 2 pearls and then some stitching, and then 2 pearls and stitching. So I created these little dangles right here to kind of mimic that. And so in place of the threads, I've got the long bugle beads, and then I hung a bead off of the end, of course. But anyway, I've got that dangle that's hanging all around, all the way to the other side there. And I like it so well because it almost is, it's not noticeable really. You can't really tell that it's there unless you give the book, pretty good shake, and then you'll see it move. But I don't think it takes away from this piece at all. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out. Okay, and then for the spine, I have this really pretty crocheted trim, which I got from my sweet friend Sherry. Hi, Sherry. And at the top, I've got a pretty little Battenberg doily, which was part of the doily lot that I got from Donna Little. I won one of the challenges that she had, and I got the doily lot, and this was included in there. It's very pretty. And then I just added a pretty little pin at the top. And on the back for the cover, I love this fabric. This was actually a lady's top that I found at the thrift store. And as you can see, it's got all these pretty little flowers all over it. And I added these little applique flowers, here and there. And then on the other flowers, I just added some flat back pearls there. But I just love how that looks. It's kind of has a spider web kind of effect going on between the flowers. I think it's really pretty. And then I added this white Battenberg trim all around the edge, which was in my stash. So that's the cover. So let's get started on the inside. Okay, for the first 2 pages, I used mostly doilies and crocheted trims and crocheted laces, things like that. I have a few bridal applique pieces. Okay, so the first page has a beautiful lady there, and I framed her picture with this beaded trim, and then I added a little bit of crocheted lace around there, and then I've got a doily there, and then another doily, and then a part of a doily, and another part of a doily down there, and then lots of different dangles hanging down there. And then running up the side here, I've got some beautiful applique flowers, which I got from Donna Little. And then I added a pretty satin bow in this corner here with a pretty little jewelry piece there in the center. And so that's the first page. So the next page, another beautiful lady. And this one, I framed her picture with a doily that I cut the center out of it, and then I stitched pearls all along the edge just to finish the edge. And then I've added a few little bridal applique pieces. There's one here, just little snippets of bridal applique pieces, and a couple more pieces over there. And then I added a little bit of crocheted lace at the top. And for these little flowers, I had some organza fabric that had these little flowers all over it, so I just cut a few of them off, and so I used 3 of them on here. And then for the centers, this little part here, I actually crocheted that. I found a pattern that I could handle. I could actually make them, and so I made the little crocheted centers, and then there's a little satin ribbon flower in the center there, and the same for the other 2. And then at the bottom here, this is such a delicate lace. I'm going to hold it up to the light so that you can actually see through it. It's so thin and soft and delicate. I got it from an Etsy shop, and the description said it was off of a lady's dress, and that it's a French silk lace. And you can tell that it's really, really old. And so I did not want to alter it in any way. I just put it in the book exactly the way that I got it. I just did a little running stitch across one edge and then gathered it and put it under her picture there. And I love it. It is so, so pretty. And then I've got a little bit of fringe hanging at the bottom there. Okay, the next 2 pages, I added a little bit of color here. The first page here has, it's kind of done in like champagne color. And these leaves are leaves from the same fabric that I got these flowers from. And so I added those there. And then I've got some bridal applique pieces that I tea-dyed and put all around. And then I added this beautiful pearl and rhinestone trim on one side of her picture there. And then I've added a satin bow with a pretty little jewelry piece there. And I've got a little tassel hanging down there. And then there's more fringe hanging down here. So that's that page. And then the next page is done in a light pink, which I avocado dyed these pieces over here. I've got an applique piece and a couple of chiffon roses, a little bit of eyelet trim that I've pleated along the edge there, and then this pretty beaded trim here. And then I've got another bridal applique piece down here that I avocado dyed. And then I've got a couple more applique pieces hanging here that I left in white. And then for this beaded trim that I have hanging here, I got that from Hobby Lobby, but it only came with the shorter beads. So you'll see a short one there, and then a short one and a short one. So in between the short ones, I added the longer strands. So that's how I came up with, you know, a fringe that has a little bit more sparkle, and it's just a little prettier than it was when I bought it. So it was easy to do. Just strung some seed beads and added a pretty little bead on the end there. So that's that page. The next page I've done in a little bit of green and creams and green. And this beautiful lady here, I framed out her picture with a few rose appliques that have the green leaves attached to the roses. And I got those applique pieces from a Zibbet shop called TPG. I got them a long time ago, so I'm pretty sure she doesn't have them anymore. I wish she did, because I really do like them. I wished I had more of them, but that was it. That was all that I have. And then I added this green pretty trim across the bottom, and I don't remember where I got that. And I've got some satin covered buttons there, a really dainty lace here, really delicate, and then underneath there I've got another doily. And then I've added a pretty little green ruffle across the top, and I have a sequin trim going down that side of the picture. And then along the edge here, you've seen me use this trim before. I used it in my little mini doily book. The only difference is I added some strands of seed beads, you know, all mixed in all the way down, just to give it a little bit more sparkle along the edge. So that's that page. Then the next page is done in a cream color, and this beautiful lady here, I framed out her picture using these little small, they're kind of like little medallions, and then I added flat back pearls in the center of each one. I've got a bridal applique piece on this corner here, and another little piece here, and another piece here. And I've added a little bow and a few little leaves here. This little flower here, I made it from a lady's blouse that I picked up at the thrift store, and the blouse had just rows and rows and rows of this little ruffly fabric on there. So I just cut off one of the little rows and just made a flower out of it. And then I've added some pearl dangles here and another little crocheted flower, which I made. And then at the bottom I've got, this is part of a table runner, and I've just added a few little roses across the bottom there. And then I have another doily hanging down there. And then for the center of the book, I'm not sure what this is. I picked this up at an antique store, and you can see it's a little bit wider at the bottom than it is across the center up here in the higher part, you know. And I think maybe it might have been a lady's belt, or maybe a lady's necktie. I'm not sure. And the other end was cut, so I don't know if the other end looked exactly like this end. My guess would be it probably did, but maybe it wasn't cut, and maybe it just, because it was old, it just came apart. But anyway, it didn't look like this on the other end. So I have a little bit of it left. It was quite long, and so I put that in the center of my book. And after I put that down, I wasn't happy with the way it looked, so I just felt it needed something else in the center. So I made this huge tassel that's hanging in here. I have it attached to the book. Part of it is glued down, and then there's only a piece that I left that's kind of free right there. But what I did is I took a piece of fabric that's probably like a ½ inch wide and about 3 or 4 inches long, and then I stitched the larger pearls all over the fabric, and then I added seed beads all over that, and then I added these strands of pearls, or the beads, and the seed beads that are kind of hanging all over the sides and everywhere. So it just creates a really nice full looking tassel in the middle of the book there, and it's kind of a champagne color. It's not picking it up on the monitor, I know, but it's a little bit of a champagne color. And then the little flower at the top was just a plain white fabric flower, and I just stitched the seed beads all over the little petals, and then I added a flat back pearl in the center. So that's it for those 2 pages. And then for the next page, I decided to do it in silvers and grays. And I had this silver applique piece, and I've had it quite a while, and I just couldn't figure out what in the world to do with it. So I decided it was going to go in this book. So I just added a little bit more sparkle to it. It has silver threading all through it. And then I added the sequins and the beads around the edge there. And then I added a few little flat back rhinestones in her hair. and I've got a little bit of trim that's running down the side, and I believe I got that trim from Donna Little. And then a little bit of gray lace here behind the applique, and then a little cluster of flowers down here. Now these flowers, this one is made out of a white satin, and this one is a gray satin, and then this one is gray, has the gray satin in the back, and then it has a gray organza on top. Now this gray satin was a gift from Sherry, and then I just added the pearl center in there in the center of the flower. And then I've got a little bit of tulle that has some pearls that are running through it, and then I added a little bit of lace right there. And these couple of pieces here, I colored those with some of my spray inks. And so that's that page, and I've got a few little tassels down here at the bottom. So the next page is very plain, and I left it that way on purpose because I love this doily. And it's just got such beautiful work in it, and so I didn't want to cover it up, and it's quite long. It goes from there all the way down to here. And then this beautiful lady, I framed her out with I put a little bit of eyelet lace here with a little bit of tulle, and then just a little piece of a bridal applique. And then I've got a flower here and some short fringe and a little bit of lace, and then a strand of rhinestones that go all the way around there. And then I've just added lots of fringe at the bottom. So that's that page. Okay, then for the last two pages, this page I added some lavender to it. It's mostly, it's a mixture of cream and white and lavender. So I framed this beautiful lady who looks like she's holding some daisies, and I framed it out with a little bit of pleated trim here and some flat back pearls. And then this trim was something that I already had in my stash. It's a beautiful trim. It's lavender, pearls, and beads and bugle beads, and I think there are sequins in there. It's a beautiful, beautiful trim. And then I've added some lavender lace here, and then I've added some tassels down here, which is just a mixture of things. There are strands of pearls, there's seam binding, and there's lace, and then there's long fibers. There's just a collection of things. And then I have one large lavender bead that's hanging in there. And then I've got a bridal piece hanging here, and at the top I added a few little silk flowers that I picked up from Michael's, and then it's trimmed out with a little bit of lace here and a little bit of lace across the top there. And that's that page. So for the last page is the pocket page, and I used some sheer fabric that I already had in my stash, and so I covered the whole page with that fabric, and then I created the pocket also with that fabric. And then I put on top of that these beautiful applique pieces, which I got from Sherry. And if you saw my video for the altered canvas bag, I used those same pieces on that bag, but Sherry gave me more. So thank you so much, Sherry. I really do love that applique piece, and was glad that I had enough to put it in this book. And then I just added a pretty little hanky in there. And the trim on the edge of the book here, it didn't look like this when I bought it. It was it's a plain trim that I got at Hobby Lobby, and we all probably have it if you've shopped at Hobby Lobby and you buy their trims. I'll show it to you. It's this trim, and I have a pin there, and I'll show you how I did it. If this was the pearl, then I would just add a pearl in that little cupped area in every little pleat along there. So that's how I did that. So it was just a way to dress up a kind of a plain trim. And then I added an organza, gathered organza trim around the edge there. And that's it. As you can see, it's pretty thick. And it's pretty heavy too. But that's my book, guys, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I made. And I didn't put a closure on it because I just thought it was fine just the way it is. So I'm going to leave it just like that. So I hope you all enjoyed seeing it, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. And take care, guys. I'll be back as soon as I can to post my other video. So until then, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.